Every subject has its own methods. Methods means about what and how. Like other sciences, social psychology has its own methods of collecting data. Modern social psychology is interested in knowing and understanding the social behavior with scientific application. The first method is the method of introspection. The term introspection means looking within. It is a kind of self observation. It is a source of informing regarding the working of one's own mind. Here, the individual's attention is focused upon or directed towards a particular event or past experience. The experience is analyzed with a definite purpose. The knowledge we get can be direct and immediate and intimate. Whenever we use rating scale, interview questionnaires and public polls, we indirectly seek the help of introspection. So, the importance of introspection is very clear. Next we come to the observation method. The method of observation is more objective than introspective method. In this method, the social scientist observes others' behavior such as physical changes, overreaction, gestures, facial changes, etc. under social situations. Hence, we can observe the social behavior of many individuals at a given time. Observation is of two types. They are uncontrolled random observation and systematic controlled observation. This method becomes reliable only when it is specifically limited and controlled. If we want to collect the public opinion toward a particular social problem, we may survey some representative sample of the population. We may survey people from different groups such as caste, religion, age, class, occupation, etc. Such controlled and systematic observation is very important in studying the social problems like attitude towards prohibition, caste system, etc. Next we study the interview method. Interview method is the most popular method in all social sciences. It is being employed very extensively by the social scientists. It is a tool to get information from the individual towards a particular issue. Here we can find a close relationship between the interviewer and the individual. This is more or less a direct method. This method needs a cordial relationship between the individual and the interviewer. This rapport between them will make the individual express his opinions freely, frankly and sincerely. This denotes that the interviewer must have certain qualifications as well as professional training. The interviewer must be trained to have clear knowledge about the topic on which he has to conduct the interview. The interviewer should be detached. He must have genuine interest in what the respondent says. He should not reveal his own beliefs and attitudes to the respondents. The interview method has contributed much to get knowledge about social relations and behavior. Next we study the questionnaire method. Questionnaire method is to help to study on groups. A questionnaire is a means of presenting a series of standardized stimulation to elicit certain kinds of responses. It is a written form of interview. The main aim of the questionnaire is to understand the preferences of the individuals. The questionnaire method is being employed in studying interests, measuring attitudes and opinions of persons. Before constructing a questionnaire, care must be taken. The reliability, validity of the questionnaire must be taken into consideration. Statistical methods are being used extensively to evaluate the result obtained from this method. Next, we study on scaling method. Attitudes are more or less enduring organization of perceptual, motivational and emotional processes. Attitudes can be measured indirectly. For measuring attitudes, we require a scale. The method of scaling requires that the individual reacts verbally with expressions of approval or disapproval, agreement or disagreement to a set of standardized statements. When we sum up the reactions of the individual, we are able to assess his opinion or attitude regarding the particular issue. Here we can make our method having quantitative values. Next, we study the experimental method. The experimenter controls all the conditions under the experimental setup. He observes what is happening under certain conditions. The conditions of social behavior or interaction are very complex. It is very difficult to control all the conditions in the field to social behavior. In social psychology, we find it hard to conduct a valid experiment. However, it provides a considerable knowledge concerning social interaction and social problem. Next, we study the field investigation method. Field investigation method is to deal with the problems relating to social psychology and industrial psychology. Psychometry helps this method to convert the results into mathematical illustration. This method may be called the survey method. By employing this method, we are able to collect information from vast areas. Next, we study the statistical method. This method has been used by all sciences to have precise and objective knowledge about their fields of study. Social psychology uses this method in a broader way to convert the quality into quantity. By employing this method, an idea becomes a number. So, the researches and findings of social psychology become comparable and verifiable. The techniques of statistics like average, dispersion, correlation, index number and sampling may help us validate the results obtained through the methods of social psychology. Only because of the statistical method, our study becomes more scientific. In this chapter, we shall deal with some schools of psychology. It is necessary to study these schools in order to understand social psychology. We shall study the various views advocated by these schools. We shall confine ourselves to some important schools only. In the category of important schools comes behaviorism, Gestalt school, Spearman's two-factor theory, psychoanalysis and Hormism. Let us see about behaviorism. Introspection was the principal method in psychology before the advent of 20th century. Then soul was the main subject of study for psychology. With the beginning of the 20th century, an important change was witnessed in the field of psychology and greater emphasis was given to standardized theories. Introspectionists criticized the standardized method. American psychologists concentrated their attention on the function of human mind for a considerable period. According to them, consciousness had no relations with psychology. They considered consciousness out of scope of psychology. This viewpoint was bitterly opposed by the adherents of structural psychologists. They held firmly the view that consciousness was intimately related to psychology. They argued that the subject of psychology must be the study of basic sources of consciousness. Watson thought that the behavior of man and animal could be studied without the help of consciousness. Watson faced some difficulty in the earlier stages when people started comparing behaviorism with physiology. He explained to the people that physiology defined the organs of the body, while behaviorism defined only the behavior and efforts of a person. The field of behaviorism is limited. Memory, thinking, emotion are beyond its purview. Perception and sensation come within its scope. Now, let us study about the Gestalt school. There is originality in the Gestalt psychology as far as learning experiments are concerned. Kogler has proved through various experiments that an individual does not act mechanically, but acts according to a situation or background. After understanding a situation or background, he responds to the pattern or the situation. Kogler's experiments were carried out on animals. Mostly he experimented on apes. In the experiment involving rope and banana, Kogler found that the chimpanzee possessed an insight. The chimpanzee was seen placing boxes over other boxes for reaching and felling down the banana hanging above. This experiment proves that a chimpanzee possesses more insight than other animals have. Another fact that comes to light is that in finding out the correct method, the chimpanzee has to study the entire situation. To understand a situation in this manner is known as Gestalt. According to Gestalt psychologists, men and animals learn in this manner. Kogler's viewpoint is that a child, instead of first learning the part, wants to acquire the knowledge of the entire situation. According to Gestalt psychologists, we proceed from whole to parts. Kogler therefore suggests that in the primary education or in the beginning of the education of the child, he should be told about the sentence first, the word and letters afterwards respectively. Now, let us study on Spearman's two-factor theory. Thorndike thinks that intelligence is the sum total of our various abilities and capabilities, and according to him, this is put to use in order to execute some difficult work. Spearman has criticized and spoken against this viewpoint. His idea is that if a man's intelligence is a collection of many abilities, then in such a strange situation for which an individual has no ability, he will find himself utterly helpless. But this does not happen, because a human being possesses a power of reasoning also. He further possesses a power to face difficult and complex situations. Spearman's theory divides all our mental abilities into two categories. The first category is named G, or general ability, and the second category is known as S, that is specific abilities. This specific ability comes to help in special situations. A man may possess one or more specific abilities, but these may have no coordination between them. Spearman has considered G alone as intelligence. Besides these two, Spearman has also given a third factor, which he has named as willpower. Spearman's theory has achieved great success in the field of education. Now, we study about the psychoanalytic school. According to Freud, man is a social creature. Therefore, the man desires social progress. A desire must be in him as to how to achieve social honor and respect and high place in the society. He will not like to do such a thing which may bring social dishonor. If somehow he does some bad thing, unintentionally he will try not to let others know it lest he is socially condemned. He wants to root out evil from the society, but Freud says that good or evil ideas entering the mind once never leave it completely. We give practical shape to good ideas, we suppress the evil ideas. Suppressing the desires and evil ideas is known as repression. However, our desires and evil ideas are never completely suppressed. They remain in a suspended situation or lie sleeping. Sometimes their images to some extent do appear in our behavior while sleeping or while engaged in some activity. Freud has given the name of superego to the power which tries to affect a balance between the conscious and unconscious. This superego is reason born as a result of social ideas. This reason is the protector. It also guides a person towards good things and actions. When we climb down from high ideals and do bad things, this superego condemns us. Consciousness is the God on duty on the border of unconscious. Freud, who went deep into the roots of an individual's behavior, always visualized some reason behind his behavior. A man was very fond of eating fish, but his father had asked him not to do so. This gentleman, while writing English, used to write fish instead of wish. Similarly, writing of various words unconsciously in place of the desired words also prompted Freud to infer the cause behind the mistake. Now we shall study about Adler. According to Adler, unconscious and conscious do not exist separately, they are interlinked. Adler thinks that the aim of both is the same. According to him, the feeling of inferiority complex pervades in the unconscious, while self exhibition, self advancement and self honor reside in the conscious. Adler's theories are based on the principle that an individual tries to hide his shortcomings and exhibit his false greatness through a style of life, which he forges out for himself in the course of his development. Now we shall study about C.J. Jung. Jung is another important thinker of psychoanalytic school. His views differ from those of both Freud and Adler. His views are more philosophical than psychological. Like Freud, he attaches greatest importance to conscious and considers unconscious as complementary to conscious. Sometimes he says that the unconscious is more important than the conscious. In the unconscious, there is not only the collection of views removed from conscious, but also a collection of ideas with an individual's personal experiences. If an individual, according to Jung, is brave, cool and scholarly in conscious, he may be a coward in his unconscious. In the unconscious, there is not only a collection of evil ideas, but of noble ideas also. Now let us study about the ideas of McDougall. McDougall has regarded instincts as motivating factors. Spencer has called it simply a chain of reflexes. According to McDougall, there exists a conative element in all our activities. According to him, instinct is a psychophysical tendency. It is due to this that a man behaves in a particular manner in a particular situation. McDougall thus considers an instinct as a primary motivation which makes an individual perform all his activities. Every instinctive action has three parts. They are knowing, feeling and willing. Finally, we study about hormic psychology. McDougall was the propounder of the theory of harmic psychology. We shall find that McDougall's principle of instincts provides great help in studying human behavior.